Well, good morning and welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide webinar for March 11th, 2020. I am Jerry Hafner. With me this morning is the Adult Education team, and we have several guests who will be joining us on the webinar this morning. So let's get started. Let's begin with a touching story that appeared in the Du Bois County Herald about a resident of Northwood Retirement Community in Jasper. The community relations director there contacted Melinda about the possibility of awarding an HSC to a special resident, Lucille Rudolph. Melinda referred the contact to our Director of Adult Education at Vincennes University, Lauren Bell, who then worked her magic to ensure that Lucille's dream would come true. Lucille proves that you are never too old to learn. She accepted an HSC honorary diploma with a misty-eyed smile. For a moment, it didn't seem real for the 100-year-old Hoosier. I said 100-year-old Hoosier. Did you see when they handed her the actual diploma? Her granddaughter asked. And she's realized it's really a diploma. I think that's when it really hit her. High school was a lifetime ago for the resident of Southern Indiana. But learning has never stopped. Last month, in front of family and other guests, Lucille received her honorary high school equivalency from Vincennes University. She is the only person to ever be named an honorary high school graduate of the university. Lucille attended high school for 2 years, beginning back in 1933. Official handwritten transcripts show her efforts in algebra, biology, music, English, Latin, and a variety of other classes. Her memories from those days are fading, while earning a diploma had remained a dream for decades. She stressed that her knowledge never stopped growing when she left the classroom. When Lucille was 16 years of age, she met her future husband, Gwen Rudolph. They both worked at a tomato canning factory, caught each other's eyes, and dated for 2 years before tying the knot. They were married 75 years that were filled with love, hard work, and travel. Lucille has memories of helping her husband, who many knew as simply Rudy, on the family farm in Du Bois County in Boone Township near Pike County. This funny and thoughtful lady keeps a very sharp mind at age 100. She loves reading books and the newspaper, working out puzzles, going to Bible study, and talking to loved ones on the phone. She's also an avid painter. A selection of her charmingly brushed canvases hung around the Northwood lobby that she proceeded through on her way to pick up her high school diploma. She's a lifelong learner. She's worked hard. She's raised a great family, Lauren Bell said. And we like to see dreams come true. And that's why we do what we do in our business. We help people achieve their dreams, she said. Let me just say the amount of goodwill that this story generated is immeasurable. Her honorary HSC won't appear in any reports or show up in enters. She was never enrolled in adult education. Vincennes University and the adult education program won't receive any funding for performance either. And granted, dollars to run our programs are important, but money can't buy everything. This simple act of kindness has touched a fellow Hoosier, her family, and her community, which proves dreams can come true. What a wonderful story. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Vincennes University, and thank you, Melinda, for touching a very, very, very special lady. Well, let's turn and let's talk a little bit about performance as we do in every webinar. How are we doing as we start the 8th month in our program year? When I ran NRS Table 4 on Friday for the current program year, our statewide measurable skill gain was at 57.02%. So far, on Friday, there are 19,724 students enrolled, with 3,105 students so far receiving an HSE. At 8 months, well into the program year, we are ahead in enrollments, HSEs, and measurable skill gains compared to a year ago. Now, just this morning, I reran NRS Table 4, and we just topped this morning 20,000 students, and our MSGs have risen to 57.47%. 20,000 students so far this year, 57.47% are our MSGs. This screen shows a comparison to the same time a year ago. The data was polled on March 8th, 2019, and I polled this data, the current data, on March 6, 2020. As you can see, our enrollment is up by nearly 845 students. MSGs are up by more than 5 percentage points, and HSCs are up by almost 1,975 diplomas from the same time a year ago. So congratulations. Let's keep up the great work. Let's now turn to regional data. Looking at measurable skill gains, regions 8, 9, 10, 11, and DOC are the top 5. Regions 1, 5, and 7 are above or near the state average of 57%. And regions 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 are slightly below the state average. Here are the regional enrollments, again, that I ran on Friday, including DOC. Regions 2, 3, 4, 5, and DOC combined make up more than 14,000 enrollments. Remember, when we ran this on Friday, the total enrollment was 19,724 students. And today, as I said, it is up to 20,000. The regional numbers on this slide for HSCs are highlighted. Regions 3, 5, 6, and 8, plus DOC, lead the state, and regions 1, 2, 4, and 11, as you can see, make up the rest of the totals there. As we progress through the year, I always like to have Melinda run the task report, which includes walk-ins. So when walk-ins are included, Indiana is up by 711 HSCs from the same time a year ago. The gains that have been made in the pass rate are really quite impressive. Indiana has improved so far this year the pass rate by 3 percentage points from the same time a year ago. And the biggest jump comes in probably the most difficult area that our students face, and that is math. Our gains today are up 3.5 percentage points, 3.5 percentage points from a year ago in math. The separation rate has improved slightly as a state from a year ago. It is currently at 16.19%. A year ago, the separation rate, as you can see, was 18.24%. And this is a decrease, which is good, of just over 2 percentage points from a year ago. This is a new chart or a new slide that I'm including. The number of reportable individuals is currently at just over 5,111 students. These are students currently in the system who have less than 12 hours. So these are students who either walked into our programs and walked out before 12 hours, or they're still in the program but have not been enrolled yet. They still have some time before they hit the magic number of 12. And hopefully we'll get more of those students in the enrollment category. 39%, when we look at employment, 39% of our students are unemployed at program entry. About the same number, same percentage, 37% are employed. More than 35% of the students, as you can see down at the bottom, it's actually 36%, have entered adult education so far this year with a high school credential or equivalency or higher. So we have more than 1/3 of our students coming to our program with a high school diploma or an equivalency or higher coming into, as I said, into our program. So we are serving an even higher percentage of those who already have a diploma or further post-secondary education. Let's switch gears to distance education. As of Monday, the state's measurable skill gains for our folks enrolled in a distance education is 63.81%. Nearly 6,000 students of the 19,000 plus students that we have enrolled, or a little over 33%, are participating in some form of distance education. And the measurable skill gains, as I mentioned, is 63.81%. For our state as a whole, it's 57%. So you can see, as we've talked about on many of our statewide webinars, how distance education, for those students who participate in distance education, it boosts their measurable skill gains up. About 14% of these students, 956 of the 6,642, have already earned an HSC. So that's enough of success stories and a lot about performance. I want to introduce this morning Mandy, who is on the line with us. She is Operations Manager for the TAA unit here at DWD, and she will cover how TAA can benefit adult education students. Welcome, Mandy.
Thank you, Jerry, and good morning. I want to first of all tell you all thank you very much for letting me have a few minutes of your time this morning. What I'd like to do is give you some information on what the TAA program is, about the benefits that are offered to workers who are eligible for TAA, and then discuss how we can partner with adult education better going forward. So for those of you that aren't familiar with TAA, TAA is the Trade Adjustment Assistance Program. It's a federally funded program through the United States Department of Labor, and it provides benefits and services to workers who have lost their jobs due to foreign trade. And when we talk about foreign trade, it's a lot of times what comes to mind is the production is being moved out of the country, or the services. So that company that was here in Indiana closes down and opens up in Mexico. And I think that's the first thing that a lot of people come to mind. And that's one way a worker could be eligible for TAA. The other two reasons is that we look at increased foreign imports of like or similar products, goods, or services. So if the American company cannot remain competitive within the United States market due to a competitor or a customer outsourcing that to a company who uses foreign materials, then a certification can be issued for that. We also have downstream suppliers, and really that's kind of that domino effect. It could be a company elsewhere in the United States that was certified for TAA, but our Indiana company produces a piece of that, maybe even a box that they use to ship their goods in and we close down, then that company can be certified for TAA as well. We also use International Trade Commission rulings, or ITC rulings, that basically issues a nationwide certification, if you will, for specific industries. It could be rubber bands. That's the one that always comes to mind. It was a recent one that came out. Anybody who produces rubber bands in the United States would automatically be eligible for TAA due to the International Trade Commission ruling. The TAA process, basically, when we work with Rapid Response and Business Services out in the regions, we work through that rapid response to determine if a company is eligible, file a petition with the Department of Labor. They review the petition information and then issue either a certification or denial. If a company is certified for TAA, then the 6 key benefits become eligible to these workers. I'm not going to go through all 6 in today's webinar, but we will focus on the first 2 that are probably best tied to adult education, and that is our training benefit and TRA, or trade readjustment allowance. The other 4 benefits are also available to those workers that become eligible for trade. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So we'll focus on training. When TAA says training, that is anything from short-term certifications all the way up to advanced degrees, and includes remedial training through adult education, HSE attainment, or English language learning coursework. When TAA is certified for a worker, that worker is eligible for 1 training plan through the TAA program, and we pay 100% of all the required training costs. That is all of their tuition, books, fees, and required materials that are needed for that training plan. Our training cannot exceed 130 training weeks. That's not calendar weeks. We look at the amount of weeks that that participant is actually in training. So for like an associate's degree program, it comes out to about 2.5 years maximum weeks of training. Training is considered a lifetime benefit, and that is considered by the lifetime of the TAA program. Currently, we are signed into law until June 30th of 2021. TAA was established in 1974, so we have a very long history of being around. We are expecting new federal regulations probably within the next couple of months. So that would indicate to me that we likely will see a renewal of the law past the 2021 mark. There are 6 criteria of training that the worker has to meet. Basically, in a nutshell, that they are unable to obtain suitable employment on their own without additional training, and that the training that they're seeking would benefit them. So specifically speaking to remedial training through adult education or HSE, we can build that in as part of their training plan, and our goal is to have the adult education be just one component part of their training, because we can bundle training programs together. So we hope to have adult education in the front end. They either complete or gain their HSE or close that skill gap in their basic skills deficiency, and then go on to get a technical certificate, associate's degree, or what have you past that. Go ahead to the next slide. So while a worker is in training through the TAA program, they become eligible for what's called Trade Readjustment Allowance, or TRA. TRA is basically works as like an unemployment extension. So after a worker exhausts the regular unemployment, they get up to an additional 104 weeks of income support, making their total 130 weeks of income support. So where this could benefit the worker who's in adult education, while there may not be any costs associated with the AE portion, or just have the HSE testing fees that TAA would pay for, the benefit of the worker doing that as part of their TA training plan is that we can then provide them income support while they're in adult education. TAA requires that they have to be in approved full-time training. For adult ed here in the state of Indiana, we say 12 hours a week, and that can be a combination of classroom or distance learning through AE. We just say 12 contact hours is what they have to meet to be eligible for the TRA. They do have to be enrolled in training or on a waiver. Basically, our waiver just says we can't start training right now, so we're going to extend that deadline so you can get into training. But their deadline for that is 26 weeks from the TA certification or the participant's separation date from that employer, whichever is later. This is the tightest deadline that TAA has on any of the benefits, and it's obviously the most impactful when you're talking about 104 weeks of unemployment insurance benefits. You can go ahead to the next slide. So when we look at a TAA participant in the state of Indiana, the average age of a trade participant currently is 49 years of age, and that kind of goes back and forth. 49 to 52 is a very average age of a trade participant. We look at their look at their educational level, and when we looked at our participants that we had last fiscal year, we had 138 participants who were actually engaged in the Work One system in the trade program, receiving benefits and services that did not have at least a high school equivalency. When I looked at how many programs we approved for individuals to attain their high school equivalency, we supported 2 all year long. So it's really caused us to go back and look at what are we missing and how are we not engaging these individuals in the adult education process, because we have workers who have no high school equivalency that we're not engaging well with the training piece of the program. Then we also look at the number of workers who receive that have only a high school diploma or HSE GED. When you're talking about the average age of a participant is 52 years old, and you look at that most of them only have that high school equivalency, we have like almost 75% of everyone engaged in the TA program lack an industry recognized credential at all. And with there being an older group of workers that we're working with, there's likely some basic skills deficiencies due to being out of school for so long. So not only needing to engage with high school equivalency, but we also need to engage with adult ed to close that skill gaps, to make individuals more successful when they go into training. Another thing that I always think is interesting about the TAA participant is the average tenure at their last employer. We average 13 years. So we're not talking about individuals who work 6 months at a job and then leave and go to the next one. A lot of our workers work 20 plus years at that employer that they've just been laid off with. So they graduate high school, they go directly into the workforce, many times at the employer that they're laid off from today, and have no other work experience or education. So just want to give you an idea of what a TA participant looks like and what, kind of what we're working with barrier-wise to get them engaged into training. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So how can the TAA program engage more workers in adult education? So this is a 2-part process. I am fully aware, and I've told other AE groups that I've spoke with here in the last couple of months, is we have failed the adult education system as a program from workforce development. So, and a lot of that is just due to lack of us providing education to our case managers and how to properly have those conversations with workers. So what we are going to be working on with our case management staff is to make sure that we're referring workers earlier in the process to address basic skills deficiency. A lot of time what we're seeing through monitoring is that our workers are going to adult ed, but we're not engaging them in that process at all. So we need to work better at that. And then also building in adult education into their TAA training plan. So, what we see is workers are better prepared for college level courses. If we build in adult ed, we don't have as many remedial Adult education is obviously free, so that is a plus. Instead of paying for remedial classes, that we can provide the adult ed for free. And then adult education can benefit because most, if not all of our TAA participants will be going on to a post-secondary training after adult ed and HSE attainment. We have recently received new guidance from our Department of Labor representatives that we, when I say we, the TAA program can approve adult education as a standalone training. For years, we have operated under the assumption that we could not do that it had to have the OST or post-secondary built in. We now know that to not be true, so this will be something we will also be addressing with our case management staff going forward. So another thing, we would like to start inviting adult education to TAA orientations to engage with those workers, at that very beginning level. And so if you are interested in knowing about events in your area, I encourage you to reach out to us and we can certainly provide that event information to you. And then just a side note is TAA pays for test fees and retake fees. Recently, one of our AE customers down in Region 7, I think she took her math portion 6 times. We paid for every retake. She recently has successfully obtained her HSE and is attending classes at Ivy Tech there. So a great success for both programs. So I had been asked in a few other meetings from adult education staff, how can we help identify workers who may be eligible for TAA? So I was asked, give us 3 questions we can ask workers. So if you're interested in determining if some of your AE students may be eligible for the TAA program, ask them these 3 simple questions. Have you been laid off? If yes, where did they work? On the DWD website that I think is on it in the next slide, we have a list of all certifications in the state of Indiana, and if that company is there, refer them to the work one to talk to a TAA engagement case manager. So that way we can lock in those benefits for them and hopefully get TAA funding part of their training or get that occupational skills piece built in if needed. If that certification, if you don't see the employer on the certification list, you feel free to ask the customer, do they think they lost their jobs due to it being moved to another country, or if there's an import of a similar product or service from another country. And if they think so, then please refer them to the TAA unit for information so that way we can start that petition process if there is a company that is eligible. Once we get a TAA participant into adult education, we require 1 attendance form every month that would be completed by the AE provider. We have to verify attendance, that they're at least attending 12 hours per week, and that they're making satisfactory progress in their coursework. And then every 90 days, we have to have some sort of grade or course progress, and that can be TABE scores that we can show that they are making those gains. So the top is the website that I was referring to. You can go to this. It has the Indiana TA certifications that will show you every certification that's been made for DOL. We have some additional resources, an online orientation video. It's about 15 minutes of what is TAA and the program benefits, as well as contact and the ability to locate a work one office near them. The DOL site also has additional information, and you can actually search nationwide TA certifications and pending petitions. Right now in the state of Indiana, we have, I believe, 21 pending TAA petitions with the United States Department of Labor. It's a very busy year for TAA. Last year, we filed 19 in the entire calendar year of 2019, and here we are in March, and we have 21 pending. So we expect a huge uptick with TAA eligible workers, and so working to make sure that we're working with all pieces and parts of DWD and adult ed to be able to provide the best benefits and services to these workers as we can. This is our staff contacts. I am the operations manager of the TAA unit, and our unit is then broke down to program directors over certain regions. So please keep this contact information if you have questions about TAA, want more information, or have a worker who you think may be eligible for TAA. Please reach out to your regional program director or myself.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy. Great information, and I know as you had indicated in your presentation, you have been speaking to regional groups of adult education directors. You spoke to the adult education directors here in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. We greatly appreciate all the information and all the assistance, and I'm sure adult education will come through for TAA and get the kind of training and education that our folks need to move on to literally the next level. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on. We have another guest on the line. J.D. Kraft is Dean and our Director of Adult Education, our relatively new Director of Adult Education in Muncie at the Muncie Area Career Center. We have a project with Tyson in Portland, Indiana, a workforce education initiative. Several months ago, we highlighted Tyson down in the Corden area in Corden, Indiana, and Connie was so gracious to tell a little bit about the project there. As you can see on the screen, Tyson has expanded its program, which is known as the Upward Academy, to 33 Tyson locations across the country, with plans to eventually make it available to all team members. So they started with Corden first. Muncie just started a couple months ago in Portland. Logansport is yet to get on, but we hope that Logansport will be added as well. So JD, tell us a little bit about the Portland Workforce Education Initiative.
Good morning, everyone. My name is J.D. Kraft, and I'm the Dean of Adult Education at the Muncie Area Career Center. Today, I'm just going to give a little overview and talk about some successes and challenges we've had with our WEI at the Tyson plant. So we got this WEI started this year back in October. The workforce partner that we're working with for this WEI is the Tyson Food Plant in Portland, Indiana. Tyson has been a wonderful host and support system in the process of implementing the WEI and promoting our program within their facility by adding in some incentives. We run 2 class sessions for first and second shifts. The second shift comes to class before their shift begins, and the first shift comes to class at the conclusion of their shift. Within these class sessions, we're running both HSE class as well as ESL classes. The classes are primarily made up of Burmese and Spanish-speaking students. We have had an amazing experience with this WEI. Our students are fantastic, and our teachers are constantly looking for the students to engage the students in as many interactive activities as possible. The students are able to learn using multiple methods. We have been fortunate to pair with Burlington English at our Tyson WEI. Burlington is an English program with an ESL component that allows students to complete interactive lessons along with feedback. The Burlington program also promotes auditory learning, visual learning, not only to improve the English skills, but also to promote computer skills as well. Along with the Burlington program at our Tyson WEI, we have phenomenal teachers that engage our students using interactive lessons that bring the educational experience full circle through real-world application. Our students are loving the experience and flourishing within the English language, as well as gaining citizenship knowledge. Some of the successes we're seeing out there, we have experienced at our Tyson WEI is that every student that has enough hours to be post-tested has indeed achieved a measurable skill gain. So we're very proud of that. Tyson, along with Burlington English, have been a major component in that success. These 2 agencies have been very supportive and have helped us be successful in any way that they can. As we are working to incorporate a more direct citizenship curriculum, many of our ESL students feel very confident that they can pass the interview portion of the naturalization process due to in-class experience. In fact, right now we have a student that is going through the naturalization process and is feeling very confident about the outcome. So we're extremely excited about that. This will allow this student to break through some barriers that's kind of holding them back from some things in their life, and we're happy to be able to tear down that barrier for them. A few challenges we faced at the Tyson WEI. Many of our team members do not drive to work. They carpool from over an hour away from the Tyson plant. So we rely on very few drivers to be able to get the students to class and then back home. So we're working on some solutions right now that we think will encourage current and potential students to help us with this process. Another challenge that we're working to conquer right now is we want to be able to get that third shift into the classroom and help those folks as well. So we are working on some scheduling to make sure that we can somehow accommodate the third shift workers and they can gain the skills along with some of their coworkers in our WEI classroom. Overall, this has been a great partnership, and we feel that this is going to better the lives of our students moving forward, and we're very excited to be working with Tyson. And that's all I have. I want to thank everybody for the time this morning to discuss our WEI. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, JD. Dan and I, several weeks ago, had the opportunity to come, and you were so gracious, and your teachers and the students were so gracious there at the Tyson plant. We really sense that the students love the program, and the teachers, the instructors there, were having just a wonderful time with them. And I was also very impressed. I think we were very taken back by the fact that the classroom was up front in the building, a very plush, if you will, classroom where they, I'm sure, hold formal meetings with some of the managers there. But they really, really have a wonderful facility there, a wonderful classroom with wonderful teachers. And we could tell the students are so appreciative of what you're doing there. So again, thank you, JD. Thank you to the Muncie program for hosting our efforts with Tyson in Portland. Well, let's move on to Indiana Career Explorer. We have a friend, an old friend here with us, Chris Fitzgerald. So, Chris, take it away.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning, adult ed overlords. I hope you're well today. And before I begin, I always like to go off topic for a second. I'd like to thank the adult ed team for having me. And since you can't see this, I got to tell you, they are dressed to the nines today. They are looking fabulous. Right next to me, Bryn, the shirt, the tie, it goes right with the Apple Watch. It's amazing. It's breathtaking. And I'm sitting here in a polo shirt, and I'm completely humbled. They are bringing the A game today, as usual. With that being said, let's get back to the topic at hand. Indiana Career Explorer. First, I'd like to dispel any rumors about the program that may have been swirling around. There has been a couple issues that we were dealing with the program about its contract, and most importantly about the funding for the contract. But I want to say at the outset, it's not through any dissatisfaction with the product. It's doing exactly what we always want it to do. It will continue to do that, and we are very happy with the vendor. But we did have some contract issues, and that stemmed entirely from funding. The funding we use for Indiana Career Explorer has traditionally been from CTE funds. Those funds have been moved over to other purposes, so we were scrambling to find the funds to keep it going. And we have that now, and everything's good. The current INS contract will be extended for a year. It was previously due to be up June 30th of this year. It will now be up June 30th, 2021. In addition, we are looking at revamping training options for this. I mainly brought this up because we're doing some focus groups with Work Ones right now, and we're aware that while there are many people who are totally trained on how to use the tool, sometimes where we're losing it is how to explain some of the results, in particular with assessments. We know some folks have been coming into Work Ones. They say, I want to be a CNA. They take the assessment says something else. And sometimes their staff has trouble dealing with that scenario. You don't want to, of course, dash any hopes that they have or get them off the thing that brought them into the facility. However, it is an important thing to maybe point out that some of the answers to their assessments pointed out that perhaps there are other areas or avenues they should explore in addition to that. So we're going to work on some better training for that for our work ones, and hopefully that'll affect maybe some of our trainings that we have for you in your space as well. Back to the Indiana Career Explorer contract, though. As I said, that's up June 30th, 2021. After that, we will have a new contract in place for what I believe the legislature is calling the new Indiana Career Explorer. Just so you know, the Indiana Career Explorer name, that is something that we, the state, own. We will always have a career exploration option. It will always be called that. It's just the vendor in the background that may change. Now, like I told you earlier, we're very happy with the vendor that we have, but we owe the Indiana Department of Administration a RFP. This is something we're supposed to do every 4 to 7 years with our vendors, and we haven't done one in, I think, 10. So we owe them that anyway. That is going to be happening this summer. Actually, the kickoff is tomorrow. In addition to that, over at the legislature, and it was in Senate Bill 295, then it got kicked to House Bill 1153. They were even talking about bringing it back to 295, whatever. Wherever it is, it should be passed today. They put deadlines that the new INS program will be in place by July 1st, 2021, that it will have an aptitude test as part of it, and really not much else is changing beyond that. You say aptitude test, what's that going to look like? We're not exactly sure either. In our RFP process, we will flush out exactly what that is. As part of our RFP process, we've brought in several other agencies to help us out, and hopefully it'll sync with some of the things that they do so that this program can be more of more use to all of our agencies and be a bigger thing for everyone. But we have not lost your voice either. Right now, our biggest user groups for Indiana Career Explorer are school, the secondary space, 6th through 12th grade, our work ones, our adult ed folks, and Ivy Tech as well. And so we will have representatives from all of those folks in our RFP process for adult education. Our very own Jose Torres, the amazing Jose, will be representing your interests on the RFP, and the kickoff dates for that tomorrow as we begin the scope work. And I will give you updates on that process over the summer as that goes. If everything goes well, it won't, but if it did, we would expect this to go out for vendor responses in July. We would like to have all that graded and the vendors selected by December. Contract phase should probably take till February, and then next March we begin the implementation phase. Of course, if we end up selecting Cooter again, there won't be much. There will be some changes, but there won't be much. But if we go with a different vendor, that might take some work. But we'll try to keep you up to date on all of those things as they happen. And that is all I have for today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, for that interesting report. And yes, Bryn does look truly amazing today, truly amazing. And you look even more amazing on this slide here. And just as a reminder from last month's webinar, the DWD media team created a new infographic for adult education. You can download color copies from our website, and we posted on your screen our website where you can find this document. There is a new section listing employer partnerships, and I think we can all agree that adult education in Indiana is certainly a bargain. I understand from our grants team there is an RFA that has been released and that perhaps some of you have been working very diligently on. We have Donna Lovelady here along with Scott Mills. They are going to talk a little bit about the grant, the timelines, as well as answering some questions that you have posted and that we have posted on our website. So Donna and Scott.
Good morning, everyone. As you can see on your screen, there are some the grant timelines and some dates that you'll want to make sure you have highlighted on your calendars and your Gmail, in your work email, everywhere, on your wristwatch, whatever you wear that tells you what dates to look at. The RFA, of course, was released on Valentine's Day, and just a sign of how much we care about all of you. And then we've gotten the FAQ out, and it is on the website, and we've sent out an update that went out on Monday, and we'll try to send out another update next week if we get additional questions, so that everybody's questions will be answered and shared among all of the potential applicants. And the most critical of all of these deadlines is the submissions due. That will be March 27th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There will be no exception on that. You must get it in. My best recommendation is for you to do it earlier than 4:59 on that day, in case there's a technical problem or any situation that might happen. You don't want to be in a position of trying to explain why it didn't get in on time. And also, we want to make sure that you are aware that your local workforce development boards will be reviewing your applications if you're going to provide or hope to provide service in their region. They will look at it to make sure it aligns with their local plan, and then they will send their recommendations and comments back to us to include in our review of those applications. Now, Scott is going to join me as we review some of our questions that have come in for the FAQ, and hopefully this will be helpful to you and might even make you think of new questions to send in to us. So, Scott, can an organization apply just for one portion in particular? Can we apply just for workforce education initiative?
Well, that's a good question, Donna. If you look at your screen here, if you're looking at the slides, or if you've looked at our FAQ already, which, by the way, is on Amplify AE under Grants and Forms. We have posted it there. You can download all of the questions. We're only giving you a small portion of the questions here. But to answer your question, Donna, yes, of course, applicants are free to apply for any one of the funding categories that we have provided. You can apply for all of them, or you can apply for a combination of them. Just keep in mind, we are going to give priority to applicants who are seeking to provide a more complete suite of services, if you will, to students. So if you choose not to apply for IET funding, that's totally fine. You can do that. Or if you just choose to apply for WEI funding, you can choose to do that too. But the way that the grants are going to be scored, it's built in, your score will be lower. That does not mean necessarily that, or at all, that you would be in danger of not being awarded funds based on that. But I just wanted to share that with you so you are aware that that could happen.
For participants that are in the WEI, do they need to complete the TABE?
Yes, absolutely. So anybody who is in a WEI program, any student that you have that's in a WEI program, WEIs are WIOA Title II programs. So all of the same rules and policies that apply to WIOA Title II participants, your regular ABE students, would apply to WEI students.
Is the instructor credentialing the same across all areas that are funded, such as WEI?
Yes.
I mean, they all have to have the same degree?
So the state minimum for instruction for an instructor in an adult education program, again, because WEIs are WIOA funded programs, is a bachelor's degree. Now, individual programs are free to set higher standards if they want. That's totally fine. But every instructor must have a bachelor's degree.
Are the new requirements for PDFs, are the new requirements for new PDFs only, or does this apply to current PDFs who will continue in that role next year?
Well, Donna, the best answer I can give you is that if you apply for PDF funding and you're awarded PDF funding, you will have to have a PDF apply and go through the PDF application process. And PDFs will be chosen on a case-by-case basis as part of that process. The requirements are listed in the RFA. You can also find information on the PDF program on Amplify AE separately under the PD section of Amplify AE. So it's all there. You can look up the requirements.
There was no mention of 64% gains as a statewide goal. Is there a goal this year that has been determined already?
So there has been no goal determined for our MSG targets for next year. And the reason for that is we cannot negotiate. So we always negotiate those targets with Octane, and they will not negotiate with us over those targets until our statewide plan is finalized. So at this present moment, no, there is no set goal or negotiated goal, but there will be.
So the next few questions deal with HSE and how to pay for that. So if it's HSE assessment products to prepare a student for the HSE, can they use their grant funds for that?
Yes. Nothing is going to be changing. So I assume most of the people who are on this call today are our current providers. You can use your funds to pay for HSE instructional materials or HSE prep materials. You just can't use your funds to pay for the testing itself.
Okay, thank you. Is there a maximum percentage set for the administrative percentage waiver?
That's an easy one, Donna. Indiana state law sets the maximum administrative cap at 15%. So we cannot provide a waiver for more than 15% for administrative funds.
Okay. Will IELCE monies be subdivided out during the grant process, or will it be included in the adult ed grant monies total for the duration of the grant process?
IELCE is a totally separate grant than ABE. So while we issue the grants at the exact same time, those two funding streams are actually separate. Therefore, the IELC funding will be separate from the ABE funding.
So if someone wants IELC funding, they have to use that application and send it in separately from their ABE one.
That's correct. The good news about that is there are some exceptions, but many of the questions under the considerations are the same. So there's not a whole lot of duplication of effort if you want to apply for those funds as well.
When listing the total number of individual applicants that will be served, do we provide the total number of individual applicants for the current grant year cycle, or is it for the 3-year period?
Well, Donna, you can see the answer here. As far as the grant application goes, we are only asking for you to specify your projected number of participants for the coming program year. So technically right now, what the application or the RFA is for the coming program year. So for program year, what is the next program year, Donna? Because my brain is not working.
Program year 20.
So for program year 20, how many individuals do you intend to serve? Right now, the RFA is just for program year 20 with, if you look at the documentation, with the state retaining the option, which if the pass is any indicator, we will exercise to do continuations after that.
So why are there regional allocation estimates instead of an individual program estimate?
Well, that is, honestly, that's a pretty easy question to answer, and it's just based on the fact that this year is a competitive application process. So we have no idea. There could be new providers, so we have really no way to competitively allocate money as part of a competitive RFA and also assign a budget to individual programs that are currently providers.
And just as an aside, I hope everyone's noticing that on every single one of these slides, the grant submission deadline has been noted on there. So we really want that to stick to you.
I have a comment about that.
Yes.
So Donna's covered this already, but I just wanted to repeat it. Submit before the deadline, and please, if you do have any technical difficulties, contact us right away as soon as you encounter them. Do not wait for the application period to deadline to pass and then be like, well, we tried, and don't do that.
Thank you.
That would be a bad strategy.
In the demonstrated effectiveness template, are we supposed to include educational functioning level percentages?
No, we're going to calculate those on our end separately, so you just need to include the number of outcomes in each category.
Should our budgets differentiate between state and federal funding, or does our funding need to be put in state only?
So when you are filling out the itemized budget attachment for the RFA, just treat it all as one pool of money. We will, after awards are made, we will send out a federal and state breakdown, and then we'll ask you to revise your itemized budget.
The grant application states that PDFs cannot be full-time. What's considered full-time?
So for this purpose, or for the purpose of our adult education instructors, we consider, or DWD considers, any instructor that is working over 30 hours to be full-time. And again, acceptance as a PDF is a separate application process, and those PDFs will be selected based on that application process on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. To confirm, the GEPA plan is to be submitted separately from the narrative and is not included in the narrative.
That is correct. The GEPA attachment is just a separate document that you need to submit.
The RFA says that adult education programs must utilize academic and career coaches. Can they be volunteers or interns who work free of charge?
Yeah, of course. So any academic or career coach or instructor, for that matter, anyone who works for you guys, instructing students, even administrators, they could do that on a volunteer basis. However, just keep in mind that any person who is operating as a career coach for your ABE program, they have to meet the Indiana's minimum requirements, and by extension, WIOA's minimum requirements. And all those people would have to be included on your Table 7 at the end of the year.
If I want to apply for counties in Region X and a county in Region Y, is that one ABE application or is that two applications?
Only one application is required. There's a space, if you haven't looked already, if you look on the allocations document, there's a space for you to list how much you're requesting from each region, and then to list the counties in each region that you intend to provide service.
For demonstrated effectiveness, are we supposed to try to contact past HSC students to get their pay, and how many are gainfully employed?
Well, Donna, so this is a complicated question that goes beyond just this RFA. But as you are all probably aware, we do frequently data match our WIOA Title II participants with unemployment insurance wage data. However, for many reasons, including geography of the state, you have people working, people in southern Indiana who are working in Kentucky, and people in northern Indiana who are working in Illinois, and people in eastern Indiana who are working in Ohio. Right, that data match will not always capture all of the participants or former participants. And, when we use UI data, it's always 6 months behind. Therefore, you should plan on, and current providers should be doing follow-up with their WIOA Title II participants.
What about students who have been with us for a while and then go to Indiana online only to finish? Does that information bear upon our success at all?
So, I mean, there's two ways that you can look at this. If somebody was a participant in your program, you're going to get credit for them no matter what. But IOO distance, the Indiana Online Only Distance Education, is designed such that both the local partner who's doing the testing of that IOODE student and the IOODE provider are going to be getting, or should be getting, credit for that student.
Please define program year and time frames. Okay, I can take this one. I like the easier ones. A program year begins on July 1st and it continues on through June 30th of the following year. So right now we are in program year 19. So a program year is one single year. You might see it sometimes written as 2019-2020, but that's not really a program year. So the upcoming one that everyone is applying for is going to be program year 2020. And it will end on June 30th of 2021. Will WEI and IET funding work the same way it does for program year 2019?
Look, Donna, somebody did it right there. Yes, and no. I'm confusing everyone now. So in the coming program year, so the one that you're going to be applying for as part of the RFA, WEI funds and IET funds will be interchangeable. Basically, this means that while the use of funds for either WEI or IET programs will still need to be tracked separately, WEI funds can be used to fund normal IET programs, and IET funds can be used to fund WEI programs.
So when it says that they're interchangeable, let's just stress the point, though, that just means with each other.
Correct.
ABE funds can be used to pay for WEI and IET costs. However, WEI and IET funds cannot be used for ABE. So just want to make sure that it's only interchangeable between those two, IET and WEI. Can two adult education programs offer services in the same county?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, more than one adult education program or provider can apply to offer services in the same county, and it is totally within the realm of possibility that multiple applicants will receive awards to provide services in the same county. There's nothing excluding that.
Do we need to complete the demonstrated effectiveness form for each one of our subcontractors?
Yes. Based on guidance that we received from Octay during a review of our previous competitive RFA process, we have to inform you that any consortium applying for funds must, and that includes a provider who is applying for funds and intends to pass those funds on to a separate non-grantee entity. Sorry, using our new language, non-subgrantee entity, must submit this template. Subrecipient?
We're the grantee.
We're the grantee. So yeah, so
they will be the subrecipients, and then if they have people under them, they will be subcontractors.
Correct.
So
the answer is yes.
Okay, there we go. Stop there. I noticed that we got an updated RFA with some new paperwork in it. What happens if I submit my application early and another item is changed?
Donna?
Well, I'll go ahead and answer my question. You're only going to be accountable for the information that is released up to the date that you submitted your application. If anything changes after that point, we will give the applicant time to make whatever corrections or changes are necessary. Well, thank you for working with me on these questions and answers, Scott.
I have a question for you, Donna.
Oh, well, thank you. Go ahead.
Just how well dressed is Bryn today?
I don't see that on my grant's timeline, so I can't answer that. Remember, your grant is due March 27th at 5 p.m., no exceptions. Get your submission in early, so if there are any problems, we can work with you on that. And my final slide that we're going to look at is, not my final one, maybe. Yes, it is. Sorry. Your grants team is here. If you need any help, you have our phone numbers, our emails. And I am going to give you a reminder to spend your state dollars first. And why is this so important, especially this year? With the coronavirus, there are most likely going to be some school closings. And this could affect how many days you will have to provide services, which will affect how much money you will need to reimburse. So we want to make sure that the money you reimburse first is state money so that it does not go back. It's very difficult to explain to legislators that we need a certain amount of money when we keep sending money back to them. So let's spend that state money first and provide the services for our students. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Donna and Scott. We want to move on this morning to professional development. Our professional development team is here with Dan and Nancy, but I believe Dan is going to do the presentation. He's going to talk about some of the professional development activities that we have hosted over the last couple of months. Dan?
Well, I must say thank you, Donna and Scott, for a riveting discussion. I do believe next month they're going to talk about all the wonderful things that you can do with squash. All right. Those of you who watch Saturday Night Live, you'll get it. All right. The state had contracted 2 professional development trainings, and both of them have been completed. And first, we're going to take a quick look at the teaching struggling learners with difficulties and disabilities. And what we want to do is basically go over just some of the reflections. On February 6th and 7th, the State Professional Development Team offered its first state-sponsored PD training. This was struggling learners with difficulties and disabilities. This particular session filled up very quickly and was well received by the attendees. On the next couple of slides, you're going to see some of the commentary that was made. For example, I appreciate Jeff Fontaine, the trainer, newest content from experience, not just books. They said, any more workshops scheduled? And probably so. Another individual, when they were asked, they shared some of the things they learned specifically was to how to identify students with LD, additional services, laws available to assist students with LD, tools to help teachers understand different strategies to use with LD students. Again, a comment on how much they enjoyed the session. I'd love a longer, more in-depth training, and realize this was a 2-day training. The way the trainer explained and put to practice what he was teaching was very helpful. I loved how he gave out and evaluated assessments. Now, when the session was finished, we asked the attendees to submit to the trainer and to the PD team any activities they may have taken from the training and implemented in the classroom. And we had some people responding very quickly. And here is the response that came from Emily Ferber, who is with Washington Township. She says, when I teach the Pythagorean theorem, I usually teach the concept of the 3-4-5 triangle first before I get into the formula. We use the manipulatives that we bought a long time ago and first showed the 3-4-5 lengths of the right triangle. We then squared them to use 9, 16, and 25 squares, respectively, to see that if you add 9 and 16, you get 25. She says the eyes rolled a bit, but when she dumped out the squares, the students got very excited. And here you see, the last slide, you saw a picture. In this slide, there's a picture of Emily with a student, and she says later, they said that they were glad that they used the manipulatives because they could really see and understand why the formula worked. They reported the activity made using the form was much more easy to understand. When working through practice worksheets, I also had easy, medium, difficult worksheets so that students could start at a level that they were comfortable. And this picture here, you see her obviously again utilizing a tactile learning, visual, because they're actually doing it on the sidewalk. So you get a whole different environment. And there's all these are different types of strategies to use to make the concepts more meaningful in a contextualized manner. We had another teacher from C9 in Region 5 from Carroll Bible. And here she says, and this is a picture of Lauren. She's one of our struggling learners who comes to me twice a week for one-on-one instruction in math. She's down to math only after 3 years in and out of our program. She has diagnosed ADD, among other things. She loved the sensory basket and played with everything in it. She can usually focus for about 20 minutes, and then she starts making silly mistakes. She's usually now completely done after about 40 minutes. In this picture here, you continue to see Lauren. She says, we've been working on polynomials. She has trouble with things like copying the problem accurately, finding the part of each term that she needs to look at, and keeping the signs with the terms for almost an hour. This modification, shown here in the picture, keeps her hands busy, eliminates all her handwriting issues. She loves it, and she was able to focus and work productively. Just recently, on March 6th, we had our second state-sponsored PD training. It was a new teacher training, and it was held, and here we have some pictures of teachers who let me take their photographs. And as you can see, their smiles on their faces. They're having a really good time. Okay, again, we have some reflections about this training. I enjoyed learning more strategies for using the classroom and found the Adult Education Teacher Handbook had many resources. It's interesting how many teachers do not know we still have the new teacher handbook, and it can be found on Amplify AE. Please let your teachers know and take a look at it. It was helpful to hear from a variety of teachers from their respective parts of the state. I learned a number of warm-up activities and lessons to keep students motivated, especially those who do not attend class on a regular basis. Good comment here. Lesson structuring and basics of new teacher training elements were very helpful, especially since I'm a completely new to teaching. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dan. We want to now move to Jose, who's going to talk a little bit about our academic and career coaching program. Jose?
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everyone. I know I've said it with everyone else, but just want to say good morning again. First, I'd like to start off, earlier this week, on March 5th, I think there was an email that was sent out from my Gmail account. I want to apologize. That was from our December meeting when we first started talking about the career coaching survey. I had some directors send an email to me about that. And so when I looked at the timestamp, that was an email from December. So I just want to apologize for any confusion it may have caused. And if you haven't done the survey, although we are way past the deadline, just go ahead and do that and send it to me. That'd be fine because it pretty much went out to everybody. If you did already do it, again, thank you. And we're gaining valuable information for that. And I just wanted to say I apologize for any confusion that this may have caused. Okay. Okay, first I want to talk a little bit about the RFA as it pertains to the career coaches. Now, we all know that DWD mandates applicants utilize a career coach, but DWD also requires an academic and career coaches employed by Indiana as WIOA Title II provider hold at least a bachelor's degree. I have had questions throughout the week about this, and I just wanted to make sure I'm clear with everyone as you guys are completing your grants. You have to have a bachelor's degree, and there's no way around that. So I'm saying it so everyone who's on the call or can utilize this information. So got to have a bachelor's degree. Next. There's been some questions asked about, the responsibilities of a career coach, and as I've been gaining the insight from a lot of your surveys. Here are some responsibilities, but they're not limited to this. But the main thing the main overall theme I've been finding is they help alleviate barriers for students, and that's a big part of this. Whether it be training, HSC attainment, employment, post-secondary opportunities, the main thing is helping them alleviate barriers to get to their goal. Also, a big part of that, what I found, is being connected to your community resources is something that will definitely help your students out a lot. Again, some more responsibilities that we'll be talking about, is that our career coaches will help our students connect to their goals and include the creation of an individual employment plan. The plan will include a list of barriers to employment, interests, potential employers in the area, and/or educational pathways. Now, again, this will be basic, but it will help our students alleviate their barriers to get their goals, and that's the overall theme, where we want them to get to their goals and achieve what they're looking for when they get into the adult ed program. Again, please do not hesitate to contact me. There have been some directors that have called. Again, I love talking to you guys, so please contact me if you have any questions. If there's anything pertaining to the grant, you have to send that to the grant, the FAQ. But anything outside of that, please give me a call, and we can go from there. I hope everyone has a good week, and talk to you soon. There will be more to come on the individual employment plan within this month, so be looking at from me. Again, it's a basic form, but this is something that I feel we need.
Thank you very much, Jose. Let's move on to workforce. Roy is here this morning. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank all the providers who have been submitting WEI applications. I appreciate your patience as I work with you in order to explicitly describe in detail your relationship with your employers. The relationships with the employers are really giving your students a unique and worthwhile training experience, and we need to do our due diligence in order to make sure the WEI applications reflect that. I'll be sending your AECs a printout of all the current WEIs and enters. If you do not see your course on there, it is not marked as a WEI, or you do not have any students enrolled in the course. Be sure to update your students' information in the course to show when they have completed so we can have accurate data. Right now, we're running a 88% completion rate for WEI, so thank you to all of you, all the programs who are updating their data. As always, if you have any other questions or concerns, please send me an email.
Again, thank you, Roy. Bryn is here with the IET and Work Indiana reports. Bryn?
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. First up is the IET and IELCE data. IET enrollment is at 2,600. Still enrolled, 1,300. Dropped is 159. Completions, 1,154. And certifications are 975. IELCE enrollments, 148. Still enrolled, 120. Dropped is 7. Completions, 21. And certifications are 9. And just like what Roy just said about the WIs, with your IETs, make sure you're going in and completing the information for your students and letting them know that they have completed and earned a cert. Up next is the Work Indiana updates. Currently, to date, we have 270 enrollments. Still enrolled at 69. Completers, we're at 185. Completion rate, 92.04. Dropped, 16. Drop rate, 7.6%. Certifications issued, 155. Cert rate is 83.78%. Employment is at 72. And the employment rate is currently at 43.78%. Next is the WEI. Right here, we just have the WEI enrollment, which is at 1,390. As always, if you have any questions or concerns regarding any of this information, please don't hesitate to either BOMGAR in or email, and I'll take a look at it. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Bryn. Matt is here with the Enters report. Matt?
First, I just want to say Bryn is a great guy. We all know that here in the office. Bryn is a great guy. Number two, we apologize for the 2 releases that we did over this week for Enters. One of the updates actually broke Enters to where you could not add a new enrollment to a student. If you're still having that issue, please let me know. But you should be on version I think is the newest one. So we went from like 46 to 48 to 50 within the space of 2 days. So that should be fixed. If not, just remote in and we'll get you taken care of. And that's all I've got, Jerry.
Thank you, Matt and Bryn. Want to move on to, and we introduced Michael Coleman from Youth Initiatives last month, and Michael is here this morning with their report. Michael?
Thank you, Jerry. Like last month when we spoke, we have a snapshot of what I gave you all last month, and this is just a better looking version that we give out to our youth directors. That outlines the out-of-school youth that we worked with. We're looking at this from the mid-program year. By the time we finish Q3, which will be at the end of March, we'll update this, give this out to the youth directors again, but we do this every quarter just so that you can see it. If you're ever interested in getting this document, we can send it out to you all. Just get in contact with Jerry, and I can get that out to you all. But this is just a better-looking version that we give out to our directors. Next. The next slide talks about our State Career Development Conference like we discussed last month. It's scheduled to be on Friday, but due to the COVID-19 outbreak, we are going to be postponing it. We just learned from the commissioner that we're going to have to postpone this event for our young people and come up with a different plan. Due to everything that's going on, we've had 2 universities closed down and they're going on online access for 2 weeks after their spring breaks. It's just something to make everything be secure for all our young people and all our guests that will be present. But seeing in this picture, you can see we have Region 8 students from their state competition on the left and their quarter zips that they have on. They do that as a region. Every year they give their students quarter zips to wear so that they have some professional material. And on the right, we have a picture of a student that did our Creative Solutions program. And that young person made a tape dispenser. That's the challenge. You have to make a one-handed tape dispenser. And that young person made a necklace with it. So it's pretty ingenious what they come up with making that happen. And you can see that young person didn't end up winning, but it was pretty cool that she made a necklace out of it. So that was just trying to give you an idea of what we do with our young people. We have public speaking, entrepreneur skills, and then we have other events. So hopefully when we have another date, hopefully some of you all can come out to that. And then the final slide, the director of youth initiatives and myself, we took a trip to Region 2 to talk to the out-of-school youth staff, and we got some guidance for some things that they want to see. We talked about some of the things that we do, working with different special populations that are juvenile justice youth, homeless youth, foster youth, just looking at ways to make sure that we're impacting those young people the best way that we can. We're going to follow up with that youth team as well, but we're doing that across the region. I want to highlight Steve Ferber, who's the director of Gateway Education Center. He's been an invaluable partner for Tanya Bope and represents a shining example of how we can work together to benefit fellow Hoosiers. Adult Education has been a great partner for referring our young people, and so we hope to continue to foster that collaboration in all the regions and improve that in other ones as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate all the good information. Steve Ferber, by the way, also serves as our Director of Adult Education in Warsaw. So thank you, Steve, for all the good work that you do, and thank you, Michael. Let's move on to our final presentation. We have Jen on the line for IAACE. I hear we have a conference coming up, Jen.
You are absolutely right, Jerry. We do have a conference in the future. I am excited to announce that the registrations are booming, and you have until April 4th to register for the conference. The deadline for the hotel is actually March 27th. Note that is the same day your grant is due, so it shouldn't be any problem to remember to do that as well. And just an extra plug to, if you know anyone who is retiring or has retired in the 2019-2020 year that was not recognized last year, please send it our way. Next up, the Past President's Dinner will be happening again on Wednesday evening. If you are a past president or know of a past president that has not been contacted, please reach out to them and give them our information so that we can get the invite to them. And then it's your birthday. Yes, everyone's birthday will be celebrated on April 22nd at the conference. We are looking for teams to help organize a themed game. What would you want to do at your birthday? What kind of game would you want to play? It can be related to the Back to the Future theme or anything that you would like to celebrate your birthday. We are going to be having some door prizes intertwined with this evening. So please submit your team theme game at the link on the screen. Next up, the Thursday excursions are available for purchase separately from your conference registration. It is a great team building activity, either of them. New this year, the winery is a buffet dinner only, which includes your pizza, which is fabulous, by the way, your salad, and a non-alcoholic drink, all for $25. You can't eat anywhere in the hotel for that, so I strongly encourage administrators to look at taking their entire team out to the winery on Thursday. Or there is the escape room option. It is for $22. This does have limited tickets, and we do have several that are booked in this. So if you're interested in that, please book as soon as possible. This is where they put 10 people in a room, and you got to figure out a way to get out. So obviously, it's a great team building activity. The annual, annual meeting and awards and retirement and recognition. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that it is on Friday. The nominations are closed. They are currently being reviewed by the award committee, and we will notify you whenever guest meals and all of that are available outside. Now, next up, door prizes for the conference. We always have a great response from all of the organizations bringing door prizes, but we want to make sure that we recognize all of those individuals and put them in the program as recognition. So if you are planning on bringing a door prize for the conference, please let us know by completing the form at the website on the screen. We will be utilizing door prizes for the vendor networking hour on Wednesday, which is from 5 to 6, at the birthday party, Thursday afternoon dessert break with vendors, the comedian event, and then in conclusion, the Friday annual meeting at the end of the event. We are making it known that all winners must be in the room to win at the time of the drawing. So get your door prize information into us at that web link on the screen. And next up, send us your blogs and your newsletter articles for the newsletter. The newsletter is coming out on March 27th. That is a Thursday. So if you can get them to me by March 24th, we can make sure we include all of them. If you missed a newsletter, you can log in and go to the download or archives of newsletters to see all the previous newsletters. And last but not least, it is officially open. The voting for the officer and board members, president-elect, treasurer, and 4 board members. All members should have received an email this morning in your email box with the ballot. You can also locate it by logging in, and under the membership dashboard, there is a button for board voting. Please vote within the next 10 days according to the bylaws. We have a 10-day opening window. Good luck to all those who have been nominated. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you so much, Jen. Appreciate all the good information. Doggy. And it sounds like we have gone to the dog. So maybe he or she needs the escape room. Well, at any rate, thank you so much. Thank you so much this morning for all your patience. We've had a very lengthy call. Our next statewide webinar will not be in April. Instead, it will be on May 13th at 10 a.m. We will not have a statewide webinar in April. Instead, we'll see you at the IAACE conference In the meantime, have a great afternoon and a great week. Thank you so much for joining us.